Today we live in a world of, I would say, pandemics. We have a pandemic of stress, and we have a pandemic of electrosmog. We all know about stress, so I don't have to say much about that. But everybody experiences it every day, and most of us have too much to do on a daily basis, which causes us to have significant stress. Physiologically, our body tells us that we have the stress. Electrosmog is basically all of the new types of electromagnetic noise that we have around us. And this includes cell phones, it includes microwaves, routers, Wi-Fi. All of this is electrosmog. You step outside and you're surrounded in the sea of these frequencies. A laptop and a computer, a desktop computer, also produce EMFs. Sometimes they can be strong, sometimes they're pretty decent. The old CRT that we used to have produced an incredible amount of electrosmog. Fortunately, these types of LCD screens now are much safer and generally don't produce that much smog for us. Now, smog itself causes physiologic stress, even though it's not necessarily emotional stress, it's physiologic stress. Also, because of all these distractions and because of the stress, many of us have trouble focusing. Many of us have trouble learning and keeping up with what we have to learn. So we have a new tool that may help with that. This tool is based on the principle of resonance. Resonance is where two different objects begin to interact with each other with frequencies. Probably the best example I can give you is a pond. Let's say you throw a rock into the pond, and the pond causes the waves to ripple. If you throw another rock into the pond at exactly the same place that you threw the first one and timed it for the waves to be at their peak or at their lowest, then there's a good chance you would actually amplify or cause the waves to get bigger. That's called constructive resonance. If, on the other hand, you throw a rock in the pond, say a quarter of the radius around or circumference around the pond, you'll create another set of waves that will hit and interact with the first set of waves and will generally break them down. That's called destructive resonance. So we want to actually amplify constructive resonance. And the way you do that is to provide the body with resonance signals, with specific signals that are designed to be resonant in a positive fashion to the body's own processes and to the functions of the brain. So constructive resonance would include things like the Schumann resonances. So we are surrounded by a magnetic field, the magnetic field of the planet. The average of this magnetic field is called the Schumann resonance, which is about 7.8 cycles per second. Because of the stress of our lives, we have the Schumann resonance that could be very helpful, and then also we can have another resonance pattern vibrating at a different frequency, 1.2 hertz, 1.2 cycles per second. So this has now actually been designed into probably the smallest electromagnetic device that we have available to us. And it's called the Harmony, USB Harmony. It's basically, it plugs into a USB port. It is actually electromagnetic circuitry that you plug into a USB port. And by doing that, what you're going to do is it turns itself on using the power of the computer, and it begins to flash. It produces or emits the two cycles we talked about. 1.2 cycles per second and 7.83 cycles per second. So with this plugged into your laptop or into your desktop, wherever your workstation happens to be, you will begin to resonate the body at the two frequencies I mentioned, which will then cause the body to relax. 7.83 hertz is the theta range. Theta is the brainwave range that is basically in light sleep. We spend most of our night in theta. 1.2 hertz is delta. That is the deepest sleep that we go into during the night, which is the most restorative sleep. So when I talk about a 1.2 hertz or 7.83 hertz, which are in the lower brainwave frequency patterns, there's a natural tendency to think, well, then maybe that's just going to slow my brain down too much. It's typically not aimed right at the brain, so you don't have it next to your brain, so it's not going to slow down that much. The brain itself, in fact, operates with multiple frequencies simultaneously, and it has delta and it has theta all the time. You just don't want a preponderance of this. So this level of intensity of this particular field from this device is not going to overwhelm the brain. The brain will still be able to do what it needs to do. The goal is to try to strengthen the frequency patterns of the body to try to slow them down. Now, theta by itself is actually used by the brain in sleep for dreaming. It's also been found through extensive research to actually help with learning. People who have stimulated themselves with theta and learned while they were doing that stimulation with theta actually learned better. Now, they learned principles and cognitive concepts more than they remembered specific detail. But when they did examinations to test these people, they found that they actually did a better job learning in theta than if they did by learning in what we call beta, which is normal awake alertness. So the combination of learning those two things. So for example, you could read a book or a chapter in a book or listen to an audio tape and still get the theta frequency from this device. And I believe that you should be able to, based on this other research, help yourself to actually focus and learn better what you just spent time and effort learning. The 1.2 hertz, again, is not strong enough to bring your brain to delta. It's really to resonate your body at a slightly lower frequency to de-stress yourself. So again, it's not going to overwhelm you. It's not going to make you feel tired. In fact, if anything, it should make you feel refreshed, because the stress of not only your own life, but the stress of the frequencies around you actually make you more depleted than this ever will. And if anything, what this will do is to strengthen and harmonize the body's own frequencies, so that you should feel less stressed and less fatigued at the end of a workday. So these two frequencies are designed into this device to help to balance the body and cause the body to relax and to resonate itself. And by amplifying the resonant patterns of those frequencies in the body, then the body becomes more resistant to the smog being produced by the computer, to whatever extent that happens to be, and certainly the smog around us. How many of us actually have routers in the room that we actually work with our computers? If you work in an office building, I can tell you right now, you have a huge amount of Wi-Fi. In order to cover the entire building, the Wi-Fi signal has to be very, very strong. So you can take your desktop computer in your office, plug your Harmony into the USB port, and then protect yourself. Now, you're not protecting yourself in a direct fashion. What you're doing is you're protecting your body's reactions to the stresses caused by the electrosmog around you. And again, in buildings outside your own home, you probably have other sources of resonance patterns that are not good for us. Power lines, electricity, the lights in our homes, all of those create resonance patterns that are not good for us as well. And you have something called dirty electricity, which you're surrounded with, even in the home setting. And unfortunately, today, people also often have smart meters that the electrical utilities have placed on your homes. And if you have a smart meter, they radiate basically through the entire home. Probably much stronger signal than your Wi-Fi even is. And again, you need to be able to blank that out. So this is a relatively inexpensive device, easy to use. You can use it anywhere, anytime that you have a USB port and some power to power the device. I don't think anybody these days should be without one of these to protect themselves.